Welcome to Too Many Tabs, Part 2. That's right. This is the cold open of the thing you've already been listening to. We're bringing it back in. We're still going hard in the same recording session where we're talking all about A Court of Wings and Ruin. And this is the Part 2 of the full-length discussion, spoiler-filled review, screaming at of.
I don't know what this is, but we're having a good time.
We're having a time. That's definitely a thing. We'll decide at the end whether or not it's been good.
Too many frauds and too many scammers that we wish weren't real. Too many cons and too many spammers, and the words start to feel like we've got too many tabs open. It's too many tabs. Remember to smile.
Mrs. P, we're back.
We're here.
Quick announcements just for everybody, in case you forgot while listening to the first one. Number one, obviously, as always, join us on Patreon, Pearlmania500.net. But number two, this is our big episode for this week.
Yeah, we're just releasing our Sunday episode early this week.
Our Sunday episode's coming out a few days early, just for everybody, so that way you have this for your travels and your fun and all those different things. And if you want to check out any of our special Patreon podcasts, like the warm-up, which we will be back with next week, or Vibing Out with the Food Moron, Mrs. P's new project.
We'll let you know about that one.
Which this week is all about deviled eggs. And you can get the deviled egg recipe for free at Pearlmania500.net. But if you want to hear the audio description of Mrs. Pearlmania explaining to me in insane detail.
But fun detail, not crazy Excel spreadsheet detail.
I don't know. It felt pretty wildly Excel spreadsheety to me. I mean, you weren't the one on the other side of it, Mrs. P. That's the thing, is I was on the other side of it, just taking it.
Yeah, taking those deviled eggs right to the face.
Taking it right to the face.
Which is what's going to happen on Thursday when I have to make you an entire tray so you don't eat all of them before
I'm
gonna
eat them. I'm going to eat them like Homer Simpson in hell with the donut conveyor. But with all that being said, we are nearing quickly running out of time with our daycare. So we are going to go right in to the episode now, and we're going to pick off right where we left off in the middle of part two of book 3 of the part
that's in good. We're getting good.
Listen, I want to just, before we get started, I hated everything about part 1. Everything I read to you guys was so just filled with nuance and annoyance. But from here on out, we're fighting, we're fucking, we're fairies, we're getting it all together.
Let's go.
We'll be right back.
Fairies fucking, vampires too. Sometimes dragons there, and they're all in the news. Sometimes there's a dinosaur. Sometimes there's way more. Sometimes it's just a tiny girl with a shadow daddy rocking her world. Fairies fucking, reeling all day. Sexy fairies without wings, please carry me away.
Yeah, that's right.
We're back.
And I turned the camera back on because I did a lip sync at the end of that. I felt it in my bones. And speaking of bones,
Bone Carver.
Let's do a full recap of the last episode.
No!
I know. No, it's fine. So, remember I was telling you at the end of the last episode.
Lesbians.
Yes. This is how we're going to introduce lesbians into the story.
I'm in.
Okay. So the way they do it is, remember how I was telling you how Feyre is trying to fly and she keeps crashing into trees?
Terrible at flying, yeah.
And she's having a lesson with Azriel and she's like, I'm just not getting it. And Azriel tells her the story of a lesbian seraphim cartographer named Nefeli.
You just said so many things.
I know I did. That's what this show is. It's just me saying so many fucking things. So he tells the story back in the war, in the pre-times. Remember the big war before the wall?
Yeah.
Okay. Miriam had a
hot, sexy Miriam
had a person in her retinue
What?
named, like in her crew.
Oh, okay. Her crew.
In her little army, there was a fae named Nefeli. Now, Nefeli was a seraphim, which is like an angel fae. So instead of having bat wings like Cassian, Azriel, and Rhysand, they have white bird wings.
Yeah, like angels.
Like angels.
Mm-hmm.
Like a seraphim angel.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's almost like she just straight up took the angel name and used it.
She really did.
Anyway, Nefeli had lopsided wings.
Oh no.
Yeah, because you know what happens.
Little
when
Finding Nemo.
Yeah, so she had lopsided wings and wasn't really good at flying.
Okay.
And there's this whole scene where Miriam, they're fleeing from somebody attacking them. I can't remember who. Maybe it was the King of Hybern. Maybe it was Jurian. I don't fucking remember. They're fleeing, and they have to. They part a river or an ocean or something. They part a big body of water. They do Moses.
Okay.
They do Moses Exodus, and Miriam is caught in the back.
Okay.
And Nefeli's like, the spell's about to break and the water's about to come crushing through. And so Nefeli flies in, or Nefel, I don't know how to pronounce it. She flies in, even though she's never been able to fly before, and swoops in and saves Miriam. And like does this crazy bank thing, like flying along the ocean floor. She has to stay low enough that she isn't shot out of the sky, but high enough that she doesn't crash into all the random stuff that's on the ocean floor.
Okay.
And she's able to, and she gets to the other end, and she saves her. And it's like this amazing, it's like incredible piloting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she's
It sounds like the Star Wars thing where there's zips opposite
yes,
the cage.
it's 100% that. It's 100% that, but it's impressive because, you know, she shouldn't be able to do that.
Okay.
And so he explains this whole story to her, and he says that, and at the end, by the way, she saves Miriam. Nefeli saves Miriam, and they keep saying, and her lover is looking for her, Nefeli's lover. And then when she lands, her lover immediately asks her to marry her.
Okay.
And now they're mates.
I don't love that they're using the word lover.
Yeah, they just kept saying because they never named Nefeli's lover. They don't give her a name. They just say, you know, her lesbian, like basically.
Wow.
And it's this whole thing. And then they said that's the reason why Rhys, Cassian, and Azriel adopted the Nefele philosophy, which is that your greatest weakness can sometimes be your biggest strength, and that the most unlikely person can alter the course of history. Which I'm like, that's not really a philosophy.
That's
that's
not
just
how
like,
you live your life.
but it's also just like, yeah, duh.
Oh my God.
Anything can happen. Is your philosophy anything can happen?
Is your philosophy a Hakuna Matata?
It means no worries for the rest of your days.
Hey, my uncle killed my dad. What if you didn't worry about it? How about that?
Hey, Hakuna Matata. But yeah, and they're like, he also says like back on the island or wherever they are, they have an annual race every year. They have like the Nefeli race of like who can like, you know, the same way people do a marathon. And it was this whole thing, and it like inspires her, and then she starts racing. She starts trying
Flying
again.
better?
Not flying better, but she just keeps trying.
Gotta keep trying.
Yeah. So Elise is still talking crazy. Remember Elise?
Yeah, she's talking.
Oh, sorry, Elaine.
Elaine. She talks. She's got a profit. She's profiting.
So she is still. She's doing that like toddler babble, just like blah 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 blah, saying all sorts of weird shit about ravens and a withered hand and stones.
And they don't think this is prophecy.
No, they're just like, wow, that's fucking weird.
That's crazy.
So Feyre and Nesta decide to go to the library, and they're like, we're still gonna look for more. Maybe we're gonna figure out a cure for Elaine, or maybe like they're just like, we'll just go to the library because you know what? They have questions.
Yeah.
And when you have questions, let me look directly into the camera. When you have questions, go to the library.
Yeah.
Don't go to Google.
No.
Google's
is
all AI lies now.
bullshit.
Go to the library.
Ask a librarian.
Yeah.
They probably have a master's degree.
Yeah. In how to answer your fucking question.
It's literally the whole degree.
Or at least pointing
how to
you.
answer or get you the right book that has the answer.
Or point you in the right direction.
Oh my God.
So anyway, they go to the library. And as they're walking around the library, Nesta's like, Feyre, I didn't know you couldn't read. And like,
Yo, what? Sick burn,
yeah.
bitch.
No, she is. Because like the thing is Nesta like doesn't until like this moment.
Also, like, how shitty of an older sister are you that you didn't know your other sister could
That's
read?
the thing is like they never took into account of how much Feyre sacrificed for them. Like of like, because like their mom died when she was young, and the mom, if you remember, their dying mom was like, yeah, you know what, like you take care of them, Feyre. And Feyre's like, what the fuck? And then mom died.
Yeah.
And so now they're like kind of stuck in this like thing.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
They're spoiled brats.
They're spoiled brats. 100%.
And then now they are whining about their problems. Yeah.
Just whiny, whine.
Whinging.
We live in a whinging household right now. That baby's just like, meh. You're like, what is it? Lots of stuff.
All the things at once.
Yeah. So she's like, oh, you know, it's like they're starting to bond a little bit. Nesta and Feyre are
They're
starting to
bonding
get along.
over how poor the relationship is.
Yes, they're kind of starting to. At least they're acknowledging it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the first step.
At least they're acknowledging it. I know a lot of people out there who don't acknowledge their bad relationships.
Allegedly.
That was way too loud.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
You went so hard on that
I
allegedly
went
button.
so hard. I forgot that the allegedly is louder than all the other buttons on here. Okay, now with that, they're walking around the library, and all of a sudden they like feel something, And that's when they get attacked by 2 agents of Hybern.
Oh, shit.
And they're like...
Secret spies in the library.
Yeah, and they're trying to kill them, and they spray them with Feybane. They're like...
Oh, shit.
They hit them with the Feybane
They
dust.
made it into a mace.
Basically, it's like a mist spray pepper.
Yeah, a pepper spray.
Yeah, kind of. And they... so they're chasing them through the stacks. Now, do they run upwards to get out of the library?
No, of course not.
They run down.
This is a horror movie. They're running
They run down.
Closer to the big dragon
Now
monster.
these guys, these Hybern agents, these assassins are coming there, and they're talking at them the whole time, and they say things like, "Hey, we are been sent by the King of Hybern," and they say things like, "Hey, we are the Ravens," and then they say things that that they can't do shit because of the spray, and they also say the Ravens are there to get Nesta because Nesta stole something from the cauldron, and the King and the cauldron want it back.
Oh.
So they're just like, hey, we're here to kill you. And
also drop all the nugget knowledge.
Just so you know, here's all the information you need to make this story make sense as we try to kill you.
Yeah.
So they chase them down.
Plot device, plot device, plot device.
So they chase them down deeper into the basement.
Where the bad dragon thing is.
Where the monster is. And Nesta goes like one way, Feyre goes another. And Feyre starts to put together, as the guys call themselves, say different things and talk about. At one point, they even say, like, yeah, the human queens don't trust the king right now because they went in. The one lady went in and it
Worst
came out.
Spies ever.
He says that one of the human queens went into the cauldron and didn't become a fae. Instead, they came out a withered crone.
Whoa.
Which Elaine saw in one of her visions, the gnarled hand of the withered crone. I just like the word withered crone. I am a withered crone. Anyway, but that's when Feyre puts it together and goes, oh shit, my sister's up. The guy can see prophecy.
God, just slapped right in the face with that piece of bologna.
Just has to take it right on the chin.
Can't.
Just like.
No nuance.
None.
No context clues.
Anyway, as she gets deeper and deeper, she gets to a corner and she realizes that she has to fight these guys, but then she feels a hand on her shoulder.
Oh shit.
And it's the beast that lives in the pit.
Oh, it's the pit beast.
It's the pit beast.
He has a hand. It's not a dragon. Though.
It's like kind of like mist. He like is darkness. Okay. Is kind of the best way to explain it.
Yeah.
And anyway, this horrifying monster, she does not look at him.
Don't look.
But it says, "Do you want to make a bargain?"
Oh yeah.
And she's like, "What?" She's like, "Do you want to make a bargain with me?" And she's okay. She makes a bargain with him.
She didn't even read the contract, did she?
And like the bargain is like that she has to bring him company or something. I don't know. It's like the way he said it, I was like, I would not accept that
No.
Kill me over whatever that thing is. Because like, it feels very like, give me your firstborn. Like, the way it's said. But I was like, whatever. And she's like, yeah. Boom. She gets a new tattoo on his arm. And then that thing goes over and like just starts killing the ravens. Wrecking him. She hears him scream. Right then, Cassian and Rhysand showed up. And they like get him out of there. Gets Nesta and her out of there. And they're like, don't look. Whatever you fucking do, don't look at what's happening over there. And she just hears a lot of squelching.
A
lot of squelching.
That's not good.
So they get out of there. And then Amren goes on a hunt.
Okay.
Because they're like, listen, if a couple of them got in here, then clearly more Hybern people got in here. Because they have like wards and stuff that's supposed to keep all this stuff from happening.
Yeah.
So Amren goes on a hunt, and they warn everybody in the city, like, listen, Amren's on her hunt. And then everyone, to make sure that she doesn't burst into your house and murder all of you.
Yeah.
They painted their doors with blood. You know, like Exodus, like a fucking Passover.
Like it's like a Passover Krampus.
Yeah, but like the angel of death, literally yeah. So it's like all these people. So I'm like, yeah, just way to rip that book off, Sarah J. Maas. Anyway, now they all admit and know that Elaine is a seer. She's not a prophet. She's a seer. She sees stuff.
Wow.
And then Elaine reveals that they remember there were 7 human queens, but one of them was, quote, sick.
Yeah.
And one of them was murdered.
Uh-huh.
She confirms that one of them turned into an old crone.
The crone.
But also the one that was sick that didn't show up in book 2. She is the captive of a sorcerer death lord on the continent who uses some sort of spell to turn her into a firebird during the day. What? And then only at night is she human. And her name is Vassa. Anyway, Lucian immediately is like, I'll go find her. And then he just leaves the story. He's like, I'm out of here.
Bye.
They give him a pack. He's like, I'll go to the continent and go find this
I'll be back
lady.
for you, mate.
Yep. And so that's 100%. Because he's like, everyone hates me here and I'm not helping. So I'm leaving. Hybern forces then immediately attack the Summer Court. This is all like in like a couple paragraphs.
Okay.
Like we're cooking now.
Yeah.
Remember that meme you showed me? You were like, how is this accurate? So you were scrolling through Instagram earlier,
Yeah.
and you were like, is this accurate? And it was like the last you've read 80% of a Sarah J. Maas book, and then it's just stuff exploding.
Yeah, the last 80% of the book.
Yeah,
And it's the
no, it's the last 20% of the book.
Oh, got it.
It's just every plot, every fucking hook she set up. You know what it is? It's like walking across a room full of mousetraps. And you're just triggering them left and right.
Yeah.
Just pop, 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 pop. That we're getting into that realm now.
Okay.
We're gonna start picking up and speaking even faster. Okay. So Amryn bursts in. It's like, hey, the summer court's under attack.
Oh no!
And what they explain is
Get the sunblock.
Prince Varian is Amryn's like lover guy over back in the summer court.
God, all
We
they
met
do
him-
is fight and fuck.
We met him very, very briefly.
Yeah.
Anyway, Prince Varian sent a mental message to Amryn. It was like, we're being invaded. So they all are like, we gotta save them.
Yeah. Okay.
And so they quickly like get the Illyrian forces,
Get the crew.
not the Darkbringers. They get the Batwing guys. Remember the misogynist Batwing militia that lives in the mountains?
Yeah.
From book 2? Super misogynist.
Yeah.
They get them
Good idea.
and the crew, and they show up over in the summer court.
Okay.
And they see the summer court's getting wrecked. There's like Hybern's navies there fighting. The summer court has a big navy because they like their lord has water powers, so they like water.
Yeah. Okay.
It's fucking stupid. Anyway, Moore and Feyre go into the palace.
Yeah.
As like a 2-person team, and they're just fucking people up, just stabby, stab, fucking up.
Okay, yeah, dude.
Using her powers.
Let's
Feyre
go.
like burns dudes, but at the same time uses her water powers to like drown them on land. It's pretty cool. I will
She
say
sets them on fire and then drowns them.
a
That's
little bit of
fucking
both.
Wild,
It's a
dude.
little bit of both. Like imagine drowning while on fire.
I don't want to imagine that.
Well,
Thanks so much.
she does it, and it's honestly, it's pretty cool. I'll tell you what, Sarah J. Maas knows how to write a battle, like a
Okay.
good fight. She's good at action.
Yeah.
She's good at action. Having like thoughts that make sense, not so much. There's a moment though during the whole battle that Ryson's like, oh, there's something that's like holding back our powers, and so he goes to one of the boats because there's something that's like nullifying their powers that's like it's like emanating.
Yeah, kryptonite.
Yeah, kind of. Like an EMP that's going off. And so he lands on this boat and he's like, I'm fucking badass. And he's killing dudes. And then he looks up and the King of Hybern's there.
Oh no!
And they have like a promo off. Like he's like, I'm gonna kill your bitch. And he's like, I'm gonna kill you. Fuck you. Blah, blah. And they're like going back and forth at
okay.
each other. And then he discovers that the king is actually a magic hologram illusion. And of course he's not there.
Oh hell yeah, dude!
He was just taunting him. It was just straight up a voice note.
Wait, am I supposed to not like this king?
The
'Cause
King of
that's
Hybern?
Badass move. That's a badass
Listen,
move.
I-
That's a badass move.
Here's the thing: is the King of Hybern is a genocidal maniac.
Oh, okay.
Let's just be clear about
All
that.
right.
And he wants to murder us because we're
Okay.
human.
Got it.
That being said, like he knows his shit.
Yeah.
Like he's like he is done. There are moments throughout the rest of the story where you're like, well, that's stupid
Yeah.
of him, but he has to be because if he's not dumb, then he would win.
Yeah, we can't win.
But this was pretty cool. So he like taunts him and all this shit. Again, a lot of sexual violence in the threats.
Oh god.
Meanwhile, Feyre is in his head. She's like in Ryson's head as all this happens, and she can't disconnect.
Okay.
And so when when the spell ends,
It's like he butt dialed her, and she's like, "Hang up the phone."
no, because the whole time she's like, kill him, and he's like, I'm trying. And he's like trying to think of like how to kill the king and get away, and she's just fucking kill him. And then he discovers he's a hologram. It's like, oh, that sucks. So then Feyre heads to Tarquin.
Okay.
Do you remember Tarquin?
No.
I know. I just like asking the question.
Oh, okay.
Tarquin is the High Lord of the Summer Court.
Okay.
He's the one with the water powers that they stole from. And he issued the blood rubies.
Right.
So he put a
Right.
bounty on her head, Ryson's
Yeah.
head, and Amryn's head. But she shows up and she's like, hey, sorry about stealing that book
Sorry
and like
about it.
betraying your trust. But
I
like,
know.
we're here and we did show up to help you. And Tarquin's like, nah, miss me with all that shit. And he's like, they're like, what? He's like, I heard what you did to Tamlin. You went down to the Spring Court and you wrecked that fucking place. You destroyed him. You destroyed his relationship with his guards. Hybern strolled through because he doesn't know that Tamlin made a deal.
Yeah.
He just sees that she went back to fucking Tamlin, wrecked his court, left, and then Hybern just straight up walked in.
Yeah.
So he's like, and now Hybern's attacking me because there was no one to stop.
Yeah.
Hybern from rolling the spring court. He's like, so this is on you. And she's like, oh, that sucks. And she's like, I'm sorry. And then she leaves and she goes back to a tent. And then she and Ryson suck each other off. And
this is not the time.
That's what they do. They go into the war tent. And
Guys,
they make it very clear. They make it very
time.
clear. He puts his mouth on her mound.
No. We're talking, there's a battle going on.
Oh, it gets so much worse. No, the battle's done.
Okay.
So instead, they're in their war camp.
Okay.
Surrounded by injured and dying who are moaning.
Oh.
And they have a canvas tent.
No.
And so they're just blowing each other while like people are dying all around them.
Guys, no, we got it. There's a time and a place.
Yeah. There's just people are like, oh no, I almost can remember my mother's eyes.
Not my foot.
Sorry. Yeah. Anyway, it's very gross and it's very off-putting because I'm like, you're tired. Because she's like, they're very tired from the battle. Anyway, so they stay there for 5 days. Like, oh no, sorry, no, that's later. That's a later one. They then, where am I here? There we go. They suck each other off. That's the exact words I wrote.
That's the words he had written down. Got it.
Okay. Then they all go back to the townhouse. And then Feyre is like, all right, I got to go check in with the bone carver. And she goes back to the bone carver. And she's like, anything else? I'm not going to do the Ouroboros obsidian mirror. Because apparently it drives you insane. And he's like, sucks to suck.
Yeah, bye.
That's the only thing. That's the only token I want. Give me my fucking mirror.
He's like, I need to watch Tubi, bitch.
He's like, give me your sister's Hulu password right fucking now. So she gets like mad and she like storms out. And then,
but again, we can't just throw a blanket over the mirror and then pull the mirror off the wall.
Again, no, she's 20.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
She's a 20-year-old homeschooled kid who didn't get schooling.
I get that. I get
All right?
it. Okay. But still, it feels like if there's a mirror on a wall and if you look into it, you just don't look into it.
You walk in backwards and throw
a mirror.
You walk in,
you throw a blanket on that fucking thing, wrap it in some tape, bing, bang,
I need
boom.
you to understand. I need you to understand something. She hasn't been thinking about things like this because the whole time she's been trying to figure out like why Morrigan and Asriel don't get together, or why Nesta doesn't just notice that Cassian loves her, or why Lucian and like what's wrong with Elaine. Like she's so busy like caring about everyone else's interpersonal relationships
that she's not seeing the real world around her.
Yeah, that she's really ignoring a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
So now we get to the High Lord meeting. It's High Lord meeting time. We're finally doing it. All the High Lords are getting together.
We're together. They put it in the Google calendar.
Yeah, it's in the Google calendar.
It took 6 weeks because everybody had so many things going on.
They had to negotiate this like it was a fucking Marvel movie poster.
Tommy was in Italy, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, worst family gathering ever is about to happen. So they all agree to meet at the Dawn Court. Now, they used to have a meeting spot.
Yeah.
It was under the mountain, but that evil queen ruined that shit, and then they closed it. Because they're like, nobody ever wants to go back there.
No, worse.
We all have bad memories, bad vibes.
Okay.
So they're like, we're going to meet at the Dawn Court. And then before they go, Ryson takes Feyre to the magical treasure safe they have.
Okay.
In the night court. And he's like, pick out a crown. And she does. She picks out like a cool crown, and they talk all about his badass about this crown. And then she also says like, you're like dumb rich. Like, I don't understand why any of these people fight about anything. Like you're beyond like trillionaires.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what more you could want.
Because when you have everything, you just start fighting about interpersonal relationships.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, oh, we don't have to worry about food, housing, or money. So I guess we're all just gonna fight and fuck each other because we have nothing else to do.
Yep.
They're bored.
And so they get ready to leave.
Okay.
And right there, I think is a perfect time.
Take a little break.
Take a little break.
Calm down.
We're moving.
Because I'm getting mad at them now.
I know. Well, you're going to get even madder.
Yay!
At the meeting of the High Lords.
The way you smiled.
Fairy's looking, railing all day. Sexy fairies with big bat wings, please carry me away.
I am so obsessed with this song.
I know
I'm
you are.
glad that you have it in your head too.
Yeah.
And by you, I mean you, the listener. Take this to the grave. And go follow Griefcat on Instagram, on TikTok, and also found their website, and that's down in the show notes as well.
Nice.
Yeah, they're touring. Not like currently, but they will be. They should be. They should be everywhere.
Yeah.
We love us some Griefcat. Now, they are getting ready to leave to go. And
Okay.
then Nesta walks in the room and is like, I've decided to share my story with the High Lords.
Oh, okay. So she is gonna do the
She'll
story. Got it.
yeah, she'll what's the thing? Their testimony.
Their testimony. Yeah.
She'll give her testimony. And they're like, why? And she's like, after seeing basically what the war did to Cassian and like everybody at the summer court, she's finally starting to realize like, oh, and there's like consequences to our actions.
Oh, the world doesn't revolve around you?
Yeah, Nesta.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Nesta. But at least, honestly, I'll give her this. She did change her mind and decide to do the right thing before Election Day. Now,
Wow, okay.
Hey-oh, what?
Stop it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Allegedly.
Anyway, so they get to the Dawn Court, and they have the meeting with the High Lords, and all of the High Lords are there.
Mm-hmm.
Thiessen.
Okay.
Thesson,
Yep.
he's the High Lord of Dawn. It's his house.
Okay.
He has a legion of peregrines.
All right. That's
Which-
the bird with 4 legs,
Yeah,
right?
kind of. No, you're thinking you're thinking wyverns. No.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
No, a peregrine. It's really just like a knockoff seraphim.
Oh, again with the knockoff
Yeah,
seraphims?
but they're winged fae.
Okay.
Okay. But one Thesson's lover is a peregrine and a male. That's right. We found the gays.
Woo! Let's go.
That's right. It's Thiessen, whatever. And he's like this, and like they show up and like, oh my God, your house is so nice. He's like, thank you. I hid it during the blight. Like, it's very
Such a rich person thing to
It's
say.
very like because they're like everybody. You start to slowly realize that each of the High Lords at the last second used a little bit of their power before Amarantha took everything over to like hide something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To protect something. And him was like, my house. No.
Yeah.
Like, so this is his house. The next one who shows up is Helion.
Okay.
He's the High Lord of the Day Court, and he is chaotically bi.
Perfect. I love this.
Annoyingly bi.
Did suddenly all the characters get great?
Listen, Helion, Helion is also known as Helion the Cursebreaker. He has like Cursebreaker powers. He's amazing, and we love him, and he would be played by Pedro Pascal.
Oh, wow.
Because he would specifically just be Pedro Pascal as the Viper from, remember when he was Dorne?
Yeah.
He was from Dorne in Game of Thrones. That's all I pictured the entire time. It's
Yeah.
just like, hello. Then there's Callias. He's the High Lord of the Winter Court, and he's there with his wife, Vivian.
Okay.
Vivian?
It's just say Vivian. So much
Vivian
easier.
is fine. Vivian is best friends with Morrigan.
Okay.
And during the Blight, again, the Amarantha period, Vivian hid his, like, a big chunk of his army.
Okay.
And him. And then when the Blight ended, he went back and immediately married her. He was like,
Okay.
and the mating bond locked into place.
Okie dokie.
Then there's Baron, who we know, Lucian's dad, the High Lord of Autumn, total dickhead.
Bummer.
He's just a dick.
Bummer of a guy.
I picture Baron as he's like one of the, like, when you when you're watching an evil movie, like an 80s movie,
Yeah.
not an evil movie, an 80s movie, and there's like the jock who's the bad guy,
Yes.
his dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the
Oh,
guy who
you
owns the
didn't-
mountain.
You didn't watch Euphoria, but there's this dad. The jock's dad is that guy. I'm telling you.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then lastly is Tarquin. And we met Tarquin.
Yeah.
He's the High Lord of Summer, and he's actually the youngest of all of the High Lords.
Okay. So he's like 4,000 years old.
No. Like all the other High Lords are like between 500 and like 1,000 years old. Like Tarquin's like 200.
To them, they're like, he's like 21. Stay away from
No,
him.
basically, that's 100%. Meanwhile, Ryson's like, well, check out my 20-year-old. Everyone's like, gross, cradle robber.
Whoa.
Oh, she's basically that's like having sex with a sexy deer.
Oh, no.
That's an Alex Grubard joke. Nobody knows what I'm talking about.
No, I do.
I know you do. Now, anyway, he's a stand-up comedian who I find very, very funny and lives in Jersey City. And opened for me. If you saw me at the Jersey City show, Alex Grubard opened for me
Yeah.
during a dark time. Now, they start the meeting.
Okay.
All the High Lords. They have, and they like describe, like, they have this really cool room with like a koi pond in the middle of it.
Sure.
So instead of a table, there's just like a little pond in the middle.
Okay.
And so it's like when things would happen, like the pond responds. It's kind of weird. But anyway, they're starting the meeting, and all of a sudden, somebody winnows into the room, and they all turn and look, and it's Tamlin.
Oh, what's he doing there?
He's a High Lord. He was invited as well.
Oh, he was.
They invited every High Lord.
That seems like a bad idea.
Including Tamlin.
That seems like a bad idea. Probably should have not invited that guy.
Listen, he takes a seat, and he's immediately a big abusive bitch.
Okay, yeah.
Immediately, he blames Rysand for everything.
Yep.
And he also starts talking shit at Feyre.
Yep.
He says that it's Rysand's fault that Tamlin had to ally with Hybern because he was told that Feyre was under Rysand's spell.
Oh, okay, so he admits now that to the whole crew, he just said out loud that he did.
Yeah, but he's like, but it's not my fault. Okay. I didn't do a bad thing. I was told that a bad thing was being done to my girlfriend. Mm-hmm. So I had to go.
That I locked in a room.
That I had to go. He didn't mention
a second room because the other room he beat up.
He didn't mention that.
Yeah.
But he was like, no. I was told that she was under a curse.
Okay.
And the only person strong enough to break that curse is the most evil man in the world. So I had to partner with him.
Okay.
So that way I could get rid of Doritos. I'm sorry. I'm turning into RFK.
Get back on track, mister.
Okay. So he's like doing that, and then like he then starts to slut shame Feyre, and he asks the other High Lords, how could you possibly ally yourself with Amarantha's whore? Because that was the nickname they gave Rysand.
Yeah. He's
like, don't you remember all that shit that Rysand did during the Blight? We were all locked in that crazy fucking pit together, and he was out there just sucking and fucking all day and getting good food.
Yeah.
While we were all getting tortured and watching our family members get killed in front of us, he didn't have any of these problems. And then like they go back and forth for a little bit. Tamlin says he always planned on betraying Hybern. And then he was like, look, I'm here under good pretenses. He's like, I know you all jerks about me, but check this out. And he like snaps his fingers and a big stack of paperwork shows up.
Okay.
And it's all stolen documents with troop movements, logistics. He's like, here's everything Hybern's planning. Here's their whole plan right there.
Okay, I immediately don't believe any of that.
I know. Nobody does. Everyone's like, okay.
Yeah, sure, dude.
Yeah.
Why would Hybern give you that? Even, okay, if you were going to store the documents not in your bathroom, like, why would he have access to them? That clearly could be a plant.
Yeah.
There's no reason to trust that that's real, especially after what seems like the worst monologue I've ever heard in my life.
It's not even so. It's a back and forth. It's like a really shitty, and like his hands keep turning into claws, and he's like tearing at the seat, like, and he's getting like really fidgety and like, I'll fuck you up. He's very much turning into the guy you've had 3 text messages with, and then you're like, honestly, I got a boyfriend right now. He's like, you fucking whore. Like, he's just like me, he's just screaming these insults. And he's like, but he's also doing it impotently. Like, he's like in the chair, like trying to show that he's big and strong. Mm-hmm. And he's doing this shit. And he starts going back into into slut shaming Feyre again. And that's when Rysand like just has it and like just snaps his fingers, and suddenly Tamlin can't speak. Like, he's cutting the air off to him. And then Tarquin speaks up. And Tarquin's like, hey, just real quick, just, I'm cool with y'all now. The bounty's off. And everyone's like, what? He's like, I just wanted to throw it out there. I'm cool. And then Eris.
Do we know why he's cool all of a sudden?
There was some throwback in there. Like, they said some line or something in there. But, like, and then Eris.
Well, it's because he realized that Tamlin didn't get crushed by the guy.
Yeah.
It's that
Tamlin's a bitch.
Tamlin worked with him. So he found out. And
yeah. That's kind of how it is. Yeah. That you actually are right. That's actually, you put together the note I'm missing.
Yeah.
Then Eris, basically out of nowhere, kind of out of left field, just slut shames Morrigan, and just says
they're all a little slutty.
Yeah, I know.
That's like the whole book is they're all
the
a little
whole book
slutty.
is every Fae is a little slutty.
And then there's nothing wrong with that.
The book
but
is.
So why are we calling each other names about it, guys?
The book is literally called. But he just like, yeah, you know what, Morgan, you're dressed like a slut. And then out of nowhere, he just gets knocked to the fucking ground. Because Azriel just fucking the Shadow Singer with the burns, the Spy Master, just fucking takes Eris out and just starts beating the ever-living dog shit out of him. while this is happening, Hellion's just like kind of looking through the docks,
Oh, that's incredible.
and everyone's just kind of like watching this, just like fucking.
Somebody's just like the other person's just going through the
Just
highlighter.
like, just going through. It's like, well, there's some pretty good stuff here, and
Yeah.
like. This whole thing happened, and like Azrael apologizes to Rhysand for like losing.
I
his
just
cool.
picture that there's one other person, one of the others, that's doing a PowerPoint during this.
No, it's kind of more of just one of those things where like, when you see in a movie where like a fight, like two guys have a fight
Yeah.
and like something happens and like it's just everyone's kind of looking at it and then they go right back to like the whole room starts talking again and the music restarts. It's basically that.
Yeah.
And so they're going over the thing, and then now each kind of High Lord kind of goes into what they can do, and Thesson, he brings in a craftsman, and he's like, this craftsman's the one who built Lucian's eye, and like is really like one of the best craftsmen in the world, and they're also basically a scientist, and they've been looking into the Feybane powder, and they've created a cure.
Okay.
Like, what's the thing with poison? You can take an antidote.
Antidote, yeah.
Yeah, so they've created an antidote. And there's like a back and forth with like Baron and his family. Like, we're not going to fucking take this shit. Well, how do we know you're not just trying to poison us? And it's like, no. And then Feyre's like, I'll take it.
So you take it before the Bane?
Yeah.
So then it's a vaccine?
Yeah.
It's a vaccine.
It's a vaccine.
Antidotes after.
Yeah.
Vaccines before.
Well, the thing is that in this case, the one thing they do say is like, listen, if you get stabbed with a thing coated in Feybane, like it can't help you.
Yeah.
But like airborne, if they're like, they'll stop that. Breathing in a little bit, that's fine. But if you get stabbed, you got stabbed. Like I can't protect that. I'm like, all right, cool. And then there's like a back and forth. Tamlin starts to blame Feyre for everything getting destroyed in the Spring Court.
Oh my God.
But then Tarquin keeps trying to like, what's that thing when there's like parents are fighting and like the one child steps up to like mediate?
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, there's a word for it, but I'm exhausted now.
Yeah.
Tarquin is just like, hey man, like if you have a bunch of refugees, like they can come stay at the summer court. Like just tell your people, and he's like, whatever. And then Baron and Feyre start getting into it. And finally, Feyre just can't take it anymore, and she loses her cool, and she starts to try to burn Baron to death with his own powers. And like, she's like tries to do like the firing drowning thing, and Rhys is like, "Hey, babe, that's pretty cool, but why don't you chill out?" And then finally, like, he gets her to stop, and then Nesta steps forward because then they're like, "We're fucking out of here."
Nesta, forgot about her.
Yeah,
right.
I know she can be forgettable from time to time. Wow. But then finally, the Baron and like all these other people are like, "We're gonna fucking leave," and then Nesta steps up, is like, "Y'all are fucking bitches." And then she's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And she gives her speech and like explains what happened to her and exactly what the King of Hybern plans to do. And then finally, 6 of them agree to fight together.
Okay.
Everyone except for Baron. Baron says basically, "I'll think about it," and then he leaves.
Okay, cool.
But 6 of the High Lords stay together, including Tamlin, and they're all like, "We're all in this together." Everybody stays the night at the Dawn Court. In separate rooms, and they have like their own special suite, and so it's like the crew's in there and they're all hanging out, and then Helion shows up, knocks on the door, and like he is aggressive. This is when Feyre finds out he's bisexual, because he's so aggressively bisexual. He walks in and like Morrigan, Azrael, and Cassian are like sitting on a couch, and he was like, "What up? When we all doing this?" And they're like, and she's like, "What?" He's like, "I want all of this. I want to suck and fuck and like we just want to get all. I heard that wall got 3 holes. Well, fucking look, guess who's got a bunch over here?" And it's just fucking, it gets like weird and gross. Like, and the whole time Feyre's like, "Oh my God." It's Feyre, just so y'all know, think of a movie where there's some girl from Minnesota who moves to LA.
Yeah, it's that.
That's her coding the entire time. And so she's like, "Oh my God, bisexuality is even a possibility. Like lesbians exist." Like she's just having her brain broken over and over and over again. And then like he's like listening. She like talks to him for like a minute. And there's a little bit more back, but Feyre's like talking to Helion, and he tells a story about how many years ago he saved Baron's wife.
Okay.
And like there's a whole thing about how Baron's clearly abusive to his wife. Like and he's talking about how she used to be back then, like how hard it was to see her at this meeting because like she's so quiet and like just very. She used to be so full of life and all this different stuff, and it's clear that Baron's been beating it out of her.
Oh, okay.
Because of sexual violence.
It's weird because you keep saying in such a light voice.
I'm trying to just keep it up, but Sarah J. Maas keeps bringing me down. But it's also pretty clear that like he had saved her at one point, like during the war, and there was a whole fling thing that happened and a few other stuff. And then she's looking at him and realizes that, oh, Lucian's dad is not his dad.
Uh-oh, Skedio.
Helion is Lucian's secret dad, and Helion and Lucian don't know it.
Nice.
She can tell. She's like looking at him. She's like, they have the same nose. And she's like looking at him more, and she's like, Lucian looks a lot like his mom.
Yeah.
But like the extra hints are not his dad.
Maybe his dad does know, and that's why he's mean to him.
Well, they don't quite know, because I think like the lineup is right there where there's like a little bit of like, oh, we don't know. And they don't have genetic testing.
Paternity tests.
Yeah, they don't have any of that.
Nice. Good for them.
So they're all like talking, and out of nowhere, Nesta says something's wrong. She feels like something's wrong, and then like everyone like poofs away real fast, and they look around. They can't figure out what it is. And then everyone goes to bed. And Morrigan fucks Helion loudly all night.
Oh, okay.
Just all night. Hold on. I should just hit the button.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's just over and over, and everybody hears it. And like the next morning, like Morrigan clearly looks like shitty about it. Like she clearly had a good time while it was happening, but now it's just kind of like that hungover. Like, why did I fuck that guy? Do you know what I mean?
All night loudly.
Yeah, all night loudly. And like Azriel and Cassian had left, like all this different stuff. Like it was pretty clear that she did it to like show Azriel like back off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. So then the next day, they're all like starting their meeting again. And all of a sudden, Nesta just starts throwing up and basically has like a little mini seizure. And suddenly the ground shakes.
Okay.
And that's when Rysand looks up and goes, the wall has been broken.
Oh.
So like they've already destroyed the wall.
Is the thing she stole from the cauldron a piece of the wall?
It's a piece of the cauldron, basically. It's like some extra cauldron power.
Yeah.
And they kind of explain it slowly over time. And I don't have it in the notes, so I don't know where it happens in the book. But it's implied that Nesta and Elaine, while in our world, we only saw them kind of get dunked in there for like 45 seconds or maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah.
They might have been in there for eternity.
Oh.
And they had to fight their way out. And like Elaine had given up, and Nesta never stops fighting. And the cauldron is like weirdly, and we'll find out a little bit later, but like the cauldron's like in love with Elaine. Like the cauldron wants Elaine back and is mad that Nesta stole something from it. But at the same exact time, like Elaine wouldn't have been able to get out without Nesta, because Nesta forced the cauldron to release them.
Oh, okay.
So there's like some weird fucky thing in there.
Yeah.
But like Nesta has this deep connection to the cauldron. So when the cauldron destroys the wall, that's what makes her throw up.
Yeah.
So everyone immediately is like, hey, we got to go home, and we all have to call up our armies right now. Like right now. So everybody goes back home. Elaine begs Feyre and Rysand to save the humans.
Okay.
She's like, the wall's down. The humans won't know what to do. And she's like, and they're like, well, what can we do about it? And she's like, we can go talk to my ex-fiance, because his dad is a crazy doomsday prepper.
But also, isn't her ex-fiance like super racist against fairies?
Yes, but on top of that, that's
a doomsday racist? Oh god.
Yeah, I know. So basically, her ex-fiance's dad has always been like, the fairies are coming for us. We got to build. So he built this crazy.
Okay. So his dad, the guy's dad is the dad in the RV from Independence Day who's been saying aliens are coming forever, and then they show up and he's like, fucking let's go.
No,
the drunk guy.
It's Reba and her husband from Tremors. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In Tremors, where there's the guy who has like the fucking 50 cat. You're like, why do you have all this shit? He's like, because the government's coming. And it's like, so he has enough guns to fight the Tremors monsters.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of one of those things where this lord has so much money and power that he's been building this fort castle.
Yeah.
With like big high walls. And he has, remember ash trees? Wood from ash can kill and hurt Fae and all this different stuff. And he has steel, and he has weapons, and he has guards, and he has all this different shit. And so he's like, I'm built up. I'm fucking ready.
Yeah.
And so she's like, we should go there and ask him for help to protect the humans.
Got it.
And so they put together this idea, and like, we'll go there and we'll ask him. But before they do that, Feyre asked Amryn for help. And she's like, listen, I haven't been able to get the bone carver because I can't look at the Ouroboros mirror. but what do you think about the library basement monster? We could free him.
Yeah.
And Amren's like, well, his name's Byraxis. And she's like, what? And she's like, yeah, I know him.
Did you have sex with him?
No, but she just knows him. And anyway, I like how you assumed it was sex. They just know each other because they're old. And they make a bargain with him that night.
Yeah.
And
another one.
Another bargain. But what he asks in return is he wants the stars. And they're like, what? Because he doesn't want to leave his cell. He likes living in the bottom of the library.
Yeah.
The only thing that's missing is a window to the sky.
Okay.
So he's like, I want you to make like a fucking
moonroof.
A moonroof. 100%. That's all he wants. It's a moonroof.
Okay.
Like, okay, cool.
How come all of these people that are in these prison type scenarios, all they want is like interior design? One wants a mirror, the other one wants a moonroof.
Because they weird. Because honestly, I'm gonna. That's the end of book 2, by the way.
Okay.
That's the end of part 2, which was the Cursebreaker part.
Yeah.
I'm going to read into it a little bit just because there is so much light bondage and captivity that's written into Sarah J. Maas's books, and also slavery and a bunch of other different stuff that's in there. There is some sort of weird psychological connection where she is often telling you that people's imprisonments are their own choice.
Uh-huh. Okay. And that they should make the
best out of it.
Make the best out of the prison that they're in, that they chose to be in.
Yes.
Got it.
And so with that, that's the end of this section. So we are going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back for the war and part 3 of A Court of Wings and Ruin.
Fairies fucking, railing all day, sexy fairies with big bat wings, please carry me away.
And we're back. Part 3 is called High Lady.
Hi, lady.
High Lady.
Got it.
Hi Lady. No, I'm kidding.
Or
like
a hi, lady.
Like a hi.
Yeah.
Hey lady. Hey. What
Okay,
are you
let's
doing?
why we get into
Okay,
it.
so everyone heads to the Illyrian war camp.
Okay.
Which, remember, those are the misogynistic bat people.
Yeah.
And they land there, and they're talking to like the Lord Devlin, who's a dick, who's in charge. He's like the one like Lord who's like kind of in charge of them, but Castian oversees them. And they immediately like point at Nesta and like, what the fuck is she doing here? That lady's a witch. And then they go into Morgan eventually explains that's bad. Witchcraft is bad. Fae don't like witches.
I'm sorry, what?
Even though everyone's magic, witches steal extra magic and use performance-enhancing drugs, and people hate that. They're like, no. All the rest of us, we're natural, okay? We take heroin to read books.
No. What you're describing is fairy turfs?
Yes, they're fairy turfs.
They're fairy turfs.
Yes, 100. Oh, my God.
They're fairy turfs. They're like, no, we were born this way.
Yeah.
And you can't do, like, you'll never be what we
Yes,
are.
100%.
Okay, got
and
it.
yes, 100%. You're completely correct.
Is there anything she's not going to steal from J.K. Rowling?
Nothing. There's nothing she's not going to steal from J.K. Rowling. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so the I just got what he meant. I just got what he meant by that. So they are talking, and they're like, all right, now we're going to go to the human castle.
Okay.
Before we go, they put a glamour on Elaine to try to like dull her high fayness.
Okay, cool.
Because they're like, she still has a human face-ish, but they're like, Faye have like a glow about them.
Yeah.
They like kind of twinkle a little bit extra. They can't really do anything about the ears, so they give her a cloak so she has that covered and all that different stuff. And they're like, we're going to go to your ex-fiance's castle.
Mm-hmm.
And they go there, and she walks up, and she's like, tell Lord Grayson that Elaine Archeron is here and is seeking sanctuary. And they're like, okay, wait at this gatehouse. So they go into the gatehouse, and it's small and it's cramped. And there's actually a really nice moment here between Feyre and Nesta.
Okay.
Because they're talking about something, and Nesta admits that she has not been able to take a bath. And she's been washing herself with buckets.
Okay.
Because ever since the cauldron happened to her, the idea of being submerged is terrifying to her, or even just sitting in a tub.
Yeah.
And then Feyre admits that she has claustrophobia now ever since what happened to her under the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of hold hands, and she said, when this is all over, we'll figure out a way to basically invent showers. Like, she basically is like, we will invent the shower for you.
Perfect.
And I don't remember if it's Feyre who says that or Ryson who says that or whatever, but then the Lord shows up, Lord Grayson and his dad, Lord Nolan.
Okay.
They show up, and the whole crew starts talking to him. They start to. Elaine is like, my sister was turned into a fairy, and against her will, and she's trying to explain all this different stuff, and she's begging him, please allow any humans to take sanctuary, because what is about to happen is going to suck harder than anything you could ever fucking imagine.
Yeah.
It's like really, really bad, and I can't believe you're voting for this again.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Nope.
All right. So then Lord Grayson's like, yeah, I would believe you if you weren't fucking lying to me right now. I know you're a fucking fae, you lying bitch. And she's like, what? And then Jurian walks into the room.
Oh.
Remember Jurian?
Yep.
The human who went crazy?
Yeah.
Brought back to life?
Mm-hmm. From the ring, the eyeball.
Yep. Yeah. So he walks in the room and he's like, I told him everything.
Okay, why does that matter? Like, what?
Okay, because then in his follow-up reveal, because we're in reveals on reveals on reveals,
okay.
he's like, and guess what?
Oh.
I've never been crazy.
Oh, he was doing that thing that guy did. Oh, fuck. There's this guy that was friends with Diddy, and all over TikTok after the Diddy stuff came out, it turns out he was like playing crazy. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know what you're talking about. No, we don't have time for this. We literally don't have time.
Okay. No, you're fine.
But what he was doing is he's been playing double agent against Hybern. He's like, I fought against Hybern in the human war to free my people. Why the fuck would I be on his side now to get back at my ex? No. He's like, I've been trying to apologize to them. I was really out of hand. And they're like, what the fuck? And so Jurian is explaining all that. He's like, Reese, read my fucking mind. Read it right now. Okay. And he like, go ahead and read it. And Reese and Feyre read it. And they're like, oh shit. Yeah, no, he's right. He's a good guy.
Okay.
And then he's like, yeah, I'm a good guy. Also, Tamlin betrayed you again. They're like, oh, what the
son
fuck?
of a bitch.
God damn it. Why do we keep fucking trusting Tamlin? And then they're in the back. Fair's like, I've never fucking trusted this dude. Fuck that dude. So then Jurian's like, hey, listen. Here's some very specific battle plans for the invasion, the next battle at the Summer Court tomorrow. Mm-hmm. He's like, you want to attack this side because this side will be easier to beat than this side. And like he gives them everything. He's like, this is how you beat them tomorrow. And they're like, cool. And then Elaine turns to young racist Lord Grayson. Yeah. And she's like, listen, my heart is still yours. Like, I didn't want to be turned into a fae. Like, we can still figure out a way to make this work. And he gets like super racist at her, like heartbreakingly racist, like 2024 Gen Z voter with a Twitter account racist. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like, it's fucking crazy. You're like, whoa, what in the Andrew Tate is happening right now? But the human lords, because Jurian basically steps on their foot, agree to take in any human that makes it to their gatehouse. Okay. So if a human shows up, they'll let him in. Yeah. And then Jurian, before they leave, he says the reason he decided to work with Feyre and Rhysand is because Feyre killed the creepy incest twins. Oh. And he's like, I know you did it because they killed them humans. Yeah. And he's like, that's the only reason I'll trust you, because you killed a fae to get revenge for a human. And she's like, word? And that's kind of like, what do you say to that? Like, okay,
cool.
Okay, and so the next day there's a war. Yeah, we have a battle. Sure. It's really well. It's honestly a fun read. Really well written. Really well
like you said,
laid out.
She's good at writing a war.
She's really good at writing it. And the good guys win.
Oh,
they win the battle, like not like super easily, but pretty good.
Okay.
And Feyre like watches it from a hill.
Oh, so she's not even in there?
No, because they're like, oh, she's not good at battle. So Feyre, Morrigan, Nesta, and Elaine, they stay at the camp.
What is she good at?
Listen.
Quickly.
Wow.
Anyway, go ahead.
Well, she's good at look what you made me do.
No, she wasn't.
Look what you made me. No, she really wasn't. But Morrigan's like pissed because Morrigan has to be up there to kind of protect them and the camp. They're like, but Morgan's really good at battle.
Morgan wants to fight.
Mor's really good at battle. Mm-hmm. And so she stays back. And like the next day she's like, Feyre explains, she goes, I can't be in a line battle like that. Like being in the big blocks of troops and marching forward to your death and like the guy next to you being stabbed and you keep going. She's like, what me and Morrigan did fighting in the castle and freeing everybody and like burning Hybern soldiers and doing that shit. She's like, I can fight a defensive. I can fight for something like that. Yeah. I can't stand in protecting these people right around me. Yeah. I can't stand in the field and get shot.
Not many people can.
Exactly.
It was really just kind of like poor people were forced to do it for their kings.
Yes.
Nobody really wanted to do that part.
Yeah. And so they spent about 5 days after that resting, and like kind of planning more with the other High Lords and shit like that. There's some fucking.
Well, there was 5 days. What else were they gonna do?
Yeah, there's just a little bit of that. I
And
think
all that adrenaline was going from the fighting and the people being murdered.
Yeah,
You know how it is.
and you know what? Feyre really needed to have a. Anyway, but also it's like very clear that this is more of like the like relationship sex of like he needs a nut. he feels really tense right now. I think he just needs a nut, and that's kind of like where it's at. And so then they discover that Hybern's going north and is heading towards the Winter Court.
Okay.
And they like argue like we can't just leave here or else they'll attack Summer Court. So they make an illusion that they're still there, but they're actually going.
Okay.
So they make like a hologram of their
Another
entire
hologram.
audience.
Got it.
Battle 2 near the Winter Court, not as easy. But during it, Feyre realizes that she needs to find the Suriel.
The cereal?
The Suriel.
Lucky Charms.
The Suriel is the creature that lives somewhere in the woods that is basically the Deus Ex Machina thing that moves the plot along. Remember that?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
There's like some sort of weird fairy elf thing.
Yeah.
That's like a weird lizard monster.
Suddenly we need that.
Yeah. She just is like, I need answers because she's like watching it. She's like, we're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
We might win this battle, but she's like, we're going to lose this war. I need answers right now. And the Suriel knows
all the things.
everything. So she tells Morrigan, she's like, they need you in battle right now. You need to go there. And Morrigan's like, you got this? And she's like, I'll protect the camp. I'm going to stay here at the camp. You go to the battle. So Morrigan runs in, puts on her shit, and flies out there, goes into the battle. She's watching Morrigan's fuck people up out there. And then Feyre turns to Elaine, and she's like, I need you to use your seer powers right now. Tell me where the Suriel is. And she's like, I know where the Suriel is. Got it. And she's like, awesome. And then she explains, Elaine says the Suriel is in the middle, right near the Weaver's College. And Feyre's like, got it. Poof. And she poof winnows to the middle. Feyre finds the Suriel standing in the middle of an open field.
Smart.
Wearing a tattered cloak.
Okay.
And she kind of weirds her out because every other time she's had to trap them.
I was going to say, it's a little weird.
Yeah. And this monster, like the
Suspicious.
Suriel is also kind of like a terrifying monster.
Yeah.
But it already has the cloak, and that was the whole thing: is you have to give them the cloak to be able to get the information.
Okay.
That was like its whole deal.
Somebody already gave Dobby a sock, you're saying?
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, the Suriel just starts giving her information anyway, because it's like, no, I like you. We've done this enough times.
Okay.
And she's like, hey, can you tell me where Hybern's main force is? Like, we're chasing around these like tiny forces. Where's the main one? He's like, I can't see it. He's like, but your sister could, because your sister has a piece of the cauldron. Like stole a piece of its powers, so use your sister to find the cauldron. The King of Hybern's always with the cauldron. Bing, bang, boom.
Yeah.
And
Probably should have thought of that on her own, honestly.
Yeah, it's very obvious. It's like incredibly obvious.
Yeah.
And then the next part, she goes, well, if I had used the book properly in book 2, A Court of Mist and Fury, would that have worked? He's like, yeah, but it would have killed you. Okay. She's like, oh, okay.
All right, good.
And then Feyre asks if the Ouroboros mirror will drive her mad, and the Suriel replies, quote, only you can decide what breaks you. Which
Jesus Christ, Sarah J. Maas.
Yeah, that's some weaponized therapy speak.
Yeah.
And then the Suriel tells her to tell Amryn that the answer that they're looking for is on page 2 and the penultimate pages of the book.
Page 2?
Page
Not
2
even
of the
that
book
far in.
and the pen, but no, you need both these pages.
Got it.
You need to put in the second page and the second to last page, because remember the book was in half, so it was one on each side. So until you put it together, you wouldn't really notice it. And then as the Suriel's talking, an ash arrow explodes out of its neck because Ianthe's there.
Oh.
Yeah. Ianthe and 2 Hybern soldiers are just trudging across this field. And Ianthe's like, I got you, bitch. Fucking God. She's fucking still mad about her hand.
Yeah. For
Remember
sure.
that?
I bet she's still
Can
mad.
I tell you something? The scene of Ianthe showing back and her hand smash, for me, that was like 4 months apart. I just want you to know. There was so much
you
time.
You were like in Los Angeles, and then now it's winter.
Yeah. I was in Los Angeles with hope. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure I started reading this, and I was like, oh, man, we could win this. And now I'm just on the other side. I'm like, yeah, of course fucking Ianthe comes back. They always come back. Every evil comes back.
Anyway, she shows up with her busted hand.
So she shows up. No, her hand's all fixed now, but it has scars on it.
Oh, good.
But because she's like, she could mend the bones, but not the scars. Ianthe starts monologuing about how they had caught the Suriel before because they know. They've read the first 2 books. They go, this bitch always goes for the Suriel.
Yeah.
She always goes for the Suriel. So they went and they tracked the Suriel down. They caught it and they gave it a cloak, and that cloak had a tracking spell on it. So they've had a tracking spell, and they've just been following the Suriel around because they know
Honestly,
your
very
fucking
smart.
dumbass does this every fucking book.
Yeah.
So Feyre runs, is like running, like, because she's like running in and out of the woods as they're
Okay.
like shooting ash arrows at her and yelling this. And she keeps looking back because she's watching the Suriel's just bleeding out.
Yeah.
And she's running closer and closer to the Weaver's cottage.
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 That's the other death lady that don't like her.
Yes.
Got it.
That is the Bone Carver's sister who she stole the ring from.
Yep.
Who looks like the girl from The Ring.
Yeah.
With like the long hair,
Yeah.
and she used to be beautiful and all this different stuff, and she's like weird gray skin.
Yeah.
Feyre runs into the Weaver's cottage.
Sure, gotta hide.
And the Weaver smells her because the Weaver doesn't have eyes.
Oh.
And it's like, I smell my brother on you.
Oh, that's a weird
And they
thing to
like
say.
talk for like briefly. And like, but she's like holding the door open, like in this weird way. She's like propping the door open because the door's trying to shut.
Yeah.
And Ianthe and the guards rush in after her, and she sneaks out, and the door slams shut with Ianthe and the two Hybern soldiers
In there
inside.
with the-
And she can hear them screaming because the Weaver's just she's like, I brought you dinner, and she eats them.
Oh, she eats them.
Yeah, or whatever. She does something to them. We don't know. We don't know
Okay.
exactly what she does. We just know
Not good.
that bitch is dead.
Yeah. Okay. Squelching
Behind
noises.
yeah, squelching noises.
Squelching
Squelch. Which honestly, let's go. I hated Ianthe so much. So just
Happy that one's done.
happy, joy. So Feyre, that happens, and Feyre goes back to the Suriel,
Okay.
and she's
A
crying.
back. Okay.
She's crying over it because she's like, I can try to heal you, and she's like, you can't. She's like, I how could she's like, I knew this was gonna happen, but you've been so nice to me. You're like the only fairy or person or anything that's ever been nice to me. So
She wasn't really that nice. She was just using you.
she was nicer than everybody else.
That's not great.
Which is an abusive relationship. Sarah J. Moss. And she's like, I'm gonna stay with you. And Sarah's like, you should leave before something worse comes. She's like, no, I'm gonna stay with you, and I'll be with you to the end. And Suriel says that she reminds her. She's like, I told you to stay with the High Lord in the first book.
Yeah.
And she was like, I know. And she goes, and she's like, and you meant Ryson, didn't you? And she goes, yeah, I meant Ryson the whole time.
Oh yeah.
And we're like, okay, cool, whatever. And then the last thing the Suriel says is just, Feyre, leave the world a better place than you found it. And then it dies.
Okay.
It just dies right then. And
Leave the world a better place than you found it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
I also read that on a thing at Home Goods.
Yeah, I get it. All right, great TJ Maxx logic. And then she's weeping over the Suriel, and then she
Obviously.
feels a hand on her shoulder,
Uh-oh.
and it's Helion.
Oh.
And he's like, I'll take you back, and with my powers, it's cool. And she's like, can you cover the Suriel's body with a cloak? He's like, yeah, and he takes his really nice cloak off and lays it over the Suriel. And then they go back to the camp.
Mm-hmm.
And when she gets back there, the camp is crazy
Yeah.
because Cassian was gravely injured.
Uh-oh.
Rysand is pissed.
Oh shit.
And he's like, you vanished without fucking telling anyone. He's like, at least, and he's like trying to play it cool though. He's like, at least leave a fucking note next
Yeah, like
time.
they can talk through their brains.
Yeah.
Like on the way there, she could have sent a brain text message like, I'm on my way here.
Didn't do any of this. And Morrigan and Feyre have a straight out fight.
Oh shit.
Because Morrigan's like, you betrayed me. You made a liar out of me. Ryson came to me and was like, where is she? And she's like, I don't know. He's
Yeah.
like, he's like, I promised Ryson I'd look after you.
Yep.
And then I gave you an inch and you took a literal half a fucking goddamn country.
Yeah.
You fucking psychopath. And they're going back and forth. And the thing is, I want to tell you right now, Morgan is 100% right in this, which is why Feyre immediately goes to emotional blackmail.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
crying.
oh, yeah. No. She goes, Morgan, honestly, you're the one who's the liar because you won't admit how you feel about Azriel and you fucked Helion.
What the fuck? Why would you bring that up?
Because she's
now?
20. Because she's 20 years old, babe. Because she's a 20-year-old girl who is in the middle of a fucking war, who has never had a real friend, and this book sucks. End scene. Okay?
Yeah.
And with that, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap this shit up. Okay?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot that's about to happen.
Okay, I'm ready.
And I'm getting hot.
Fairies fucking, railing all day, sexy fairies with big bat wings, please carry me away.
Okay, we're back. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's start rapidly firing towards our conclusion.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna be making.
I have a feeling that like the book was also like this.
It is the
Yeah.
end. Listen, the last 20% of the book I read in like 2 hours. I was like, bah, 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 bah. Everything up to that point, I was like, would you fucking get on with it?
Yeah.
All right. So Amryn shows up and shows Nesta how to use the bones and stones to scry the location of the cauldron.
Got it.
All right.
We're gonna find the
they just
cauldron.
she literally just like throws it on a table. And it's like right there. And she and Feyre then see the cauldron like through their mind's eye and the massive Hybern army, their location and everything. They realize it's in the human realm right near their old family home. Mm-hmm. And they're like, and they're fucking crazy. And that night they go to bed. Feyre has a dream that the cauldron is reaching out and calling for her sister Elaine.
Okay.
And that standing on the edge of the camp, her sister Elaine's racist ex-fiance is like calling to her, and Elaine's walking out to him. Mm-hmm. And then her eyes open, and she's like, holy shit, that's actually happening right now. Oh my God. And she runs out, and Elaine's missing. And everybody freaks the fuck out. Elaine's gone. The cauldron has taken her. Because the cauldron is, like I said before, is in love with Elaine and like wants her back.
Yeah.
Or at least wants to look at her again. I don't know. It's kind of weird. The cauldron is like a god and the MacGuffin at the same time.
Yeah.
It's just like this thing. It kind of reminds me of like Sauron's eye.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I think it has agency,
I don't know.
but it doesn't have enough agency for anyone to stick their dick in it. That's where I want to leave it. Okay?
Okay. All right.
Azriel and Feyre then are like quickly put together a plan. Like, we're going to go save her. We're going to save Elaine right now. We're going to go to the Hybern camp. And Feyre uses a spell to disguise herself as Ianthe, like to make like her face looks like Ianthe. And then Azriel hides in her shadows. Okay. Because he's a shadow singer. That's what he does.
Yeah.
And then they go to the camp, and everybody just keeps making like weird jerk offs at her. Like, Ianthe is like such a big slut that like everyone's like, "Yo, what up, Ianthe?" And they're like, they're talking like they're Italians in like the 70s.
Yeah.
Where they like grab their junk, like, "Yo, what up?" And they just keep like readjusting themselves. It's said a bunch of times, and I'm like, I don't like this. But then she runs into Jurian, and Jurian's like, "Hey, Ianthe. Oh, you're not Ianthe," but he plays it cool because they're allies, and he's like, no. And as they're walking through, they pass a bunch of people. Like, it's clear that the Hybern soldiers are torturing, executing, and doing sexual violence towards humans.
Okay.
And one in particular is a human girl who was in one of the Children of the Blessing cloaks, is on a rack being tortured. And there's a whole trolley problem moment here. Okay. Where Feyre wants to save that girl, but also her sister. And Jurian's like, you can't do both. You got to pick one. She's like, I choose both. I want to have my cake and eat it too.
Okay, that's not going to end well, probably.
And Jurian's like, okay, listen, your sister is by the cauldron and it's at the tent at the end. Say that you want to go pray. And then as Ianthe, and then you'll be able to go pray at the cauldron because she has access. Yeah. And she's like, got it. And he's like, if you really want me to save the girl, I'll leave the girl by the cliff at the back of the camp. Because this whole place has a ward, so they can't poof away until they're outside the ward space. Okay. So he's like, run and jump off the cliff.
Real quick.
Yeah.
This fairy guy, he's a High Lord?
Who? Which one?
The one that's saying, I'm going to go do this and get the little girl over there.
No, this is a human. Jurian. He's the eyeball dude.
Jurian is eyeball dude. Got it. Okay. Because I'm like, Feyre is a queen, or right? Like she has a
high
crown.
lady.
High lady. She has a crown. Can't she just walk over to the soldiers and like, hey, stop?
No, because they're her enemy. Remember? She's in the King of Hybern's camp.
Oh, okay. I thought this was happening in her camp.
No.
I thought this was the misogynist bat guys.
No,
I was lost.
No. Sorry. this is the Hybern camp.
Okay, they're in the Hybern camp.
This is the evil camp.
Because that's where the cauldron is.
And to show that they're evil,
I got a little
they're
lost.
doing rape killings.
Yeah, rape killings.
They got to do that to show they're evil because they're written like a mid-2000s video game where the bad guys have to do sexual violence to show the world that they're actually evil, or else people will Thanos them and think that actually maybe they have a point.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, we good?
Yep.
Okay.
Don't air horn your way out of this.
Okay. Now, they go in and she praises the cauldron. She finds Elaine in the back, and they like realize they can't get her chains off of her, but they can like try to like do something. And they're like, all right, fuck it, go. And they burst. They like pull Elaine out with the chain still on, but they like put the chains over. They're like, she's still handcuffed. Yeah. But she's not attached to anything anymore. Yeah. Is the best way to put it. And then
it's like when you get away from the cops.
Yeah.
With your handcuffs on.
Yeah, with your handcuffs still on. And so they take her and they run out the back of the tent. and they set off like every alarm.
Of course.
And so now like every soldier and these things called Naga hounds, which are like those crazy swamp monsters,
Yep.
but dogs.
Yep.
They're chasing them. And it's pretty thrilling. Like it's actually like it reads really fast. Like she's really good at Sarah J. Maas is really good at writing action. I want to be clear about this. She is good at writing action. I never want to hear her give me the thoughts of a 19-year-old girl again. But action, go all day. There's a really cool scene where they're running away and like she's trying to get her wings going.
Yeah.
And Azriel is like, I can, because that's the whole thing is Jurian's like, you can't carry 3.
Yeah.
Azriel can't carry 3 people to fly out far enough to winnow away. And she's like, no, Azriel, you take my sister and the human girl.
Yeah.
I'll fly off on my own. But she's being chased and like being slowed down and like all this stuff. And then out of nowhere, this big thing just starts knocking back the dogs. And it's like, what is that? And then she realizes it's Tamlin. Tamlin's protecting her.
As a big wolf now?
As a big werewolf guy.
Okay.
And she's running, and she sees him getting like overwhelmed. And she's like, it doesn't have enough strength to like poof to get up.
Yeah.
And at the last second, Tamlin reaches out his hand and gives her like a push of air.
Yeah.
And that helps her like take off just enough. And they're able to get out just outside the wards. And she looks back and she sees him jump off the cliff as well.
Okay.
And he falls. And as he's falling, he gets close enough. I guess he's outside the ward. And then he poofs away.
Yeah.
So he gets away. And then they get away. But Azriel is injured so badly that he can't fight anymore. Mm-hmm. They're like, you can't fight. And then they say the human girl's name. They introduce to her. And like her name's Briar. And then they hand her off to a completely different group because they're like,
we got the kid. We don't have to take care of it.
Yeah, and they're like, you might come up in a future book. And then Nesta thanks Feyre for saving Elaine, and then the 3 sisters sleep on the floor of a tent, just like they're back in their really shitty bed in their cottage.
Oh, okay.
So they're like, hey,
Memories,
yeah, it's just kind of like we're
nostalgia.
bonding. The next day, the Winter Court army joins them. This is the army that Kellius's wife had hidden. And then Azriel is okay, but again, he's not great. And he's really, really mad.
Okay.
Because they're like, you can't fight, dude. You can't fight. And he's like, this is fucking bullshit. He's like, I'll be fine. Like, you can't fly. You can't fight. And then Mor and Feyre have a talk. They finally have a heart-to-heart.
Okay.
Because they got to make up.
Where Feyre apologizes?
Yes.
Okay,
They both
good.
apologize.
Well, I'm only here for one of those.
Well,
apologies.
because Morrigan explains that she could never tell Azriel that she loves him. Because she loves him like a brother.
Oh my god. I didn't care about the
Because Morrigan is gay.
Whoa, wait,
yeah,
what?
She's a lesbian. She's been a lesbian the whole time.
Secret lesbian.
Yeah, she's most of the time. Basically, she bangs guys every now and again for fun because.
So you're describing a bisexual now.
Yeah, but she's more. She's what she says is I can have sex with men when I need to. She goes, but I don't feel any connection there.
Oh, so it's what do they call that? There's a word for it. Compulsory heterosexuality.
Yeah,
It's like a
well,
when
and so
girls
here's
are
the thing:
raised
is
that way.
she's so in the closet.
Yeah.
She's deep in the closet, and she explains why. So basically, her weird family that lives underneath that in that fucking hewn city.
Yeah.
They are like they sold her off to Eris. They're like, you're gonna be sold off to Eris, so that way we have a good connection.
Yeah.
You're gonna make us babies.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew then that she was gay and she was a lesbian. And she's like, if I tell them, they will tie me to a bed and make me into a broodmare because they do that in that culture.
Okay.
And she was like, so that's why I slept with Cassian.
Yeah.
And she was like, because I knew if I was sullied,
Yep.
if I wasn't intact in their mind, then I would they would just reject me.
Yeah.
She goes, they didn't know that they would, do the whole nail in the womb thing.
Yeah.
But like it was better than them finding out that I was gay. And which is like there's
That's
so many
such a
layers.
fucking
There's
crazy.
so many layers to that.
Sarah,
but also like
Sarah J. Maas, I need you to go to therapy, babes.
But also like I know a bunch of women who've had very similar stories. And it's also pretty clear that she sleeps with men sometimes to throw everybody off the scent of the fact that she's gay. And she goes to a...
I need Morgan to get on TikTok in 2020 and get accidentally pipelined into the truth.
100%. She explains that she's been with a woman. She's been with women before. She's taken women lovers before. Her first woman lover was during the war, and it was a human. And that woman she took a female lover because she realized she could be more open about it because of Nefeli and her. That whole thing comes back.
Yeah.
She's like, I saw lesbians. I was like, I could be a lesbian.
Oh.
And then she fell in love with a human, but that human ended up on the other side of the wall. And that woman, by the time she finally got on the other side of the wall, she was old and already had 5 kids with a guy.
Yeah.
And was a human queen.
Oh.
And was actually the golden hair queen's like great grandmother.
Okay.
Who's the one who got murdered
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Valeris. So that was just like good genes. And there's a lot of stuff. But
So
then
for Morgan, we're talking representation matters. You know,
representation matters. She saw.
She saw herself.
Yep.
And she wanted to be out.
And she takes women, you know, she says female. I take female
hate
lovers.
when they say females.
But she says it over and over again because she even mentioned at one point she's like, yeah, my human lover, you know, she took a mate, or as you would call it, marriage. And I was like, shut up.
Don't make it that we're the weird ones.
Yeah, don't make us the weirdos here with your females. Anyway, she's like, yeah, no, I take lovers a lot, female lovers, but they always get tired and annoyed because I can't ever admit that this is happening because I don't want my family to be disgusted. She's okay with being disowned by them, but like,
Yeah.
then like I don't know. There's just so many like.
This is okay. I've read this book.
Yeah,
I've seen this story in real life.
And she's like, yeah, well, there's like a bar I go to called Rita's.
Shut the fuck
Yeah,
up.
there's a lesbian. There's only like
In
what?
all of this story, there's a lesbian bar.
Let me tell you something. I lost my mind. There's only like 13 lesbian bars left in America,
Yeah.
and they have one in Prithian. Like, fuck you. I was so mad. And it's called Rita's
Why would you call it Rita's?
because Rita's the owner.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, but anyway, she's like, yeah, that's where we all hang out. Anyway, her girlfriends leave her after a few decades because they're like, I don't want to be with a closet case. And,
Yeah.
you know. Anyway, she knew if she slept with Azriel, he wouldn't understand that this was just, you know, to get that nut.
Business.
And he would think that this was like the beginning and not the end. And so she's always like tried to keep him but she doesn't want to lose him as a friend.
Oh god.
So she's been like dragging him on for 500 years. But he just assumes, he thinks, she doesn't realize, even though he's the spy master, supposed to know all this
Spy
different shit.
master.
Supposed to be the Lord of the Shadows.
Yeah.
He thinks he doesn't think that she's gay. He thinks that she just thinks he's ugly because of his horrifying burns and trauma.
Yeah. Okay.
So then Feyre thanks Morrigan, and she said, I'll keep this, you know, this is just between us. I won't tell anybody, but when you come out, I'm going to play matchmaker. And it's like, oh my God, you white ally bitch.
Insufferable.
You white ally bitch. I hate you so much. Go turn your Instagram cube into a black square. Anyway, that was that whole chapter and a half. How you feel?
I don't know what's happening, and I'm excited.
Okay, cool. Remember how we were at war? Sorry,
Yeah.
I had to take a whole lesbian aside there.
I know. It was a nice aside from war.
Yeah, well, we're going back to war.
Okay.
So now the Hybern army is marching through the human lands, and they're just doing sexual violence.
Okay.
And the sisters beg the High Lords to use their powers to save as many humans as possible before the battle tomorrow. And Amryn then tells them that Elaine knows how to use the cauldron to end the war because she takes the note that the Suriel gave her. And she's like, there's a way that we can do this. And if the 4 of us who were made by the cauldron touch at the same time, we can use Deadpool Wolverine logic.
Yeah.
And the energy will be dissipated through enough of us that none of us will die.
Okay.
So the High Lords finally listen to the sisters, and they use their winnowing powers all night to winnow out humans to either the Summer Court or to other locations, so they'll be protected. Now, I want you to picture this. Humans have never seen Fae.
Yeah.
Most of these humans, their entire life, they've only ever lived in complete fear of them on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
And then one night, out of nowhere, their mortal enemies who they've never seen appear in their bedrooms and say, get your shit, we're leaving. And so, of course, a lot of them are just screaming. It's like, I'm going to take you to safety. And then they transport them to literal fields and like giant manors that look like, you know, they did have slave quarters. And they're like, you're here. You're going to live here now. And they're just freaking out left and right. Feyre, though, during this moment realizes that this is her moment to go get the mirror. She's like, I need the mirror. I can't, there's no way I can't get the mirror.
She has so many side quests all the time.
So she goes to the Hewn City. She walks up 1,000 stairs through a snowstorm.
Could she not just do her little poof magic?
No,
to the
that
top of the
doesn't work
stairs?
here. Whenever they need to have a long think, and there's always a thing that stops the poof magic.
Yeah.
So she gets up to the top and she looks into it and she sees herself. And then as she's looking into it, behind her, she sees a monster and it's crawling like a panther. but it has scales and fur and feathers. It's a weird thing.
That's a lot of things.
It's a lot of things, and it's about to pounce, and she pulls out her knife, and she turns to face it, and it's not there, and she looks back, and it's sitting in the mirror, and she realizes she's looking at her true self.
She is the monster?
She is the monster, and she begins to perceive it, and then we cut, and it goes right back, and she is handing the mirror to the bone carver.
Bone guy.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, you looked in it, huh? And she's like, yep. And he's like, what'd you see? And she's like, myself. And he's like, okay. Pretty crazy. Anyway, so he tells her that he'll uphold the deal now. Mm-hmm. And then he just kind of tosses the mirror to the side. She goes, what the fuck? You didn't need it? He's like, no, I want to make sure. He's like, that was a test to see if you were worthy. If you could face yourself.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, dude, you suck.
Bro.
Anyway, they do the magic and get him out of there. And then the coming day, it's down to the final battle. Okay?
Mm-hmm. The
Hybern has just been sexually violencing their way across.
Mm-hmm.
The gang's getting ready. Azriel gives Elaine his blade called Truth Teller.
Oh, God.
He's like, here's my knife. They all make a big deal because they're like, listen, no one's ever touched that knife. And he's letting her touch it.
Wow.
And then everyone makes a big deal about it. Reese then gives a moving speech to each member of the crew of like what they mean. And it is pretty good. It's actually a pretty good speech because they even asked him, he's like, do you want the flowery speech or the depressed one? They're like, the real one. And I'm like, okay, fine. And then the battle begins. And they all have these massive shields. I know you don't know what I'm talking about, but for the listeners, I picture the field from the end of Star Wars Episode 1 when the Trade Federation is attacking the Gungans and they have those giant shields over their entire forces and they're battling until the big shields break down until then it goes to smaller unit shields. And right as the big shields break, Feyre turns to Risa and says, I never got you a mating present. And he goes, what? And she goes, I have these new tattoos because of the new bargains that she's made with the Bone Carver and Byraxis. That's right. The basement monster and Bone Carver just appear on the field. Mm-hmm. And she's like, look at that. Isn't that cool? And then Rice says, oh, you shouldn't have because I got you this. And then the Weaver appears.
Okay.
Because remember when Helion put his hand on her shoulder? It was like, I'll take you home. Rysand had sent Helion to go cut a deal with Striga, the Weaver. And so now they got 3 death god monster things that are running around just killing everybody. They're just murder. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool because the monster death guards just start killing.
Yeah.
And
that's
they're like,
their whole thing.
They're like, here I go killing again. Now, the battle's really kicking. All 5 High Lord armies, they're fighting all of Hybern's massive force. And we're talking about like, it feels like I want to say like 80,000 dudes versus like 200,000 dudes.
Yeah.
And it's like they're doing all right, but it's not great. But then they hear a horn.
Uh-oh.
And they look to their left because they're also just, this is like near the ocean. Mm-hmm. So they're like the ocean's on their right. There's like some hills to the left. Hybern actually has mostly the high ground. So they're very disadvantageous.
So we hear a horn.
They hear a horn.
Got boats?
No.
Damn.
Not boats. 3 new armies.
Oh, shit. Where are they coming from?
It's Baron. It's Tamlin. And it's the racist Lord Grayson's men being led by Jurian. And they're good guys now.
Oh,
yay,
let's not question it. Let's not question it.
Just accept it. Shut up. Everybody has to rush in. Let's pile in, fellas. So they come in and they're all good guys. And because, there's like 57 different arcs we need to wrap up. Yeah. And we got characters we need to keep for future books. So the Cauldron made girls. That's the best way to explain them, which is Amryn, Elaine, Nesta, and Feyre herself.
Yep.
They start making their way across the battlefield.
Sure.
Making my way. They start making their way across, and Nesta drops to the ground and starts screaming for Cassian.
Okay.
So Cassian! Cassian! Ah! And Cassian like starts to swoop down. He's like, what the fuck is going on? And she's having damn near close to a seizure, and all of a sudden they hear this giant noise, and it just goes like, ground. And it's because the Cauldron shoots a giant blast in the air and wipes out most of the Illyrian forces. Oh. It's like a Death Star blast. Okay. And like the dudes just vaporize and like their ashes falling. Cassian would have been in the middle of that blast, but he swooped down a little bit and was just outside of it. And everybody's freaking the fuck out. And then the Cauldron blasts again, but this time directly into Hybern's army and takes out the Bone Carver. And at the last second, the bone carver like she looks at the bone carver, and the bone carver like looks at her and like smiles because like he knew this was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Because all these things knew they were happening, but he did it for her.
Oh my God.
But also, I think he wanted the sweet release of death. And
Yeah,
like,
probably. It's been alive
honestly,
a long time.
And honestly, after this November, I get that.
Okay, stop it.
So okay, now that happened, and everybody's like freaking out because now they're down. They only have 2 god monsters left. They just lost a bunch of their wingy boys, and then boom, another horn blast.
Oh no.
Boats.
I knew boats were coming.
And it's Hybern boats. It's
God
more
damn.
Hybern boats. It's his allies from the continent. But then, guess what?
What?
Another horn blast.
Okay.
More boats.
Okay.
Behind the Hybern boats?
Yeah.
Ally boats, baby. Because guess what?
What?
It's Miriam and Dracon.
Miriam, hot sexy Miriam.
Hot sexy Miriam and Dracon, her bird boy. And guess what? Behind them,
What?
there's more boats.
Guys, this is a lot of boats.
And there's a firebird.
Okay.
Because it's the Queen Vassa.
Oh.
The Firebird lady, and it's daytime, and she's flying around, and she's burning the Hybern boats. And guess what? Behind Queen Vassa, guess what there is?
Oh no, what?
More boats.
Okay.
And guess what? They look closely, and they see the name of those 3 boats because they have Fey eyes, so they can see a distance.
Yeah.
They don't need telescopes. And those 3 boats are named Feyre, Nesta, and Elaine. And on the lead ship, Nesta, there's a man standing there. A tubby man.
Is it the dad?
It's the Prince of Merchants. It's their dad. Yeah, their dad led an army. Yeah, their dad's the best guy ever. Do we hear anything about him? No, but he just showed up because, redemption arcs. Fuck it.
Okay. I don't love that.
Honestly, I teared up a little bit when it happened because I was like, yeah, save your girls. That feels nice.
Okay.
Because they later explained, like, he basically spent the whole time, like, he discovered what was happening. I was like, we need to get more armies. Go back here and save my daughters.
Okay. So now what happens?
Okay.
War.
War. Nesta tells Feyre that she and Cassian are going to will be bait.
Yeah.
She's going to use their power, and she's going to draw out the King of Hybern. She's going to draw him away. And I just realized I did not have the video on this entire time.
Okay.
It's fine. But she's going to draw him away, and she's going to bring him to the away from the cauldron, and then they can do what they need to do for the cauldron.
Sure.
And they're like, okay. And Elaine is just like freaking out. Like Elaine can't help.
Elaine's not having a good time.
So they kind of all huddle up, and they're all like, this is what we're going to do. And everyone huddles up, and then they break. And that's where we're going to take a very quick break.
Okay.
Right here. And then, I swear to God, I'm here at the ending. I'm on the last page.
Okay.
And we have time.
Okay.
We got time. So when we come back, we're going to end the battle.
We're going to finish the book.
We're finishing this fucking book.
We're going to finish the book.
If you're popping the question this holiday season, you want to do it right. Blue Nile has you covered with gorgeous engagement rings. They're the original online jeweler since 1999. On BlueNile.com, you can create a big, brilliant piece at a price you seriously won't find anywhere else. Blue Nile even offers a diamond price guarantee, which means that in most cases, they can meet or beat a competitor's price on a comparable diamond. Get the diamond you want at a price that fits your budget. With guaranteed service and repairs for life, you've got nothing to lose. Even if your partner says no, Blue Nile has a 30-day return policy, so just your ego gets hurt, not your pocket. Right now, go to BlueNile.com and use code TABS for $50 off your purchase of $500 or more. That's $50 off with code TABS, T-A-B-S, at BlueNile.com. BlueNile.com, code TABS.
Fairies fucking, railing all day, sexy fairies with big bat wings, please carry me away.
Okay,
we're here.
All right, here we are.
This last page.
Yeah, we're last
of
page.
the biggest book you've ever read.
So, Feyre and Amryn's, they scuttle across the battlefield, and they're following the Striga's trail of death. All right? They get to the Hybern camp, and they get to where the king is in the cauldron, and they follow. The Striga's, like, waiting for them, kind of. Like, oh, watch this shit. And she, like, kills a bunch of people. And then the king of Hybern sees the Striga and just straight up snaps her neck.
Oh, okay.
Because he's uber powerful.
He's
He just,
super
like, walks up. He's like, hey, death god, snaps her neck.
Yeah.
And then, like, well, she might survive that. And then he throws her, and then a bunch of dogs eat her. And they're like, that's crazy.
Okay.
But it feels like really weird. But also by this point, the Weaver isn't an old lady anymore. She's killed so many people that she was young.
Yeah.
She was like cool and everything. I kind of pictured in like a red pant, white top, like Japanese type of thing. Like suddenly she was like a young woman type of deal.
Cool,
anyway,
cool.
But then King of Hybern looks up and he feels something, and he realizes it's Nesta flexing her power, and so he flies off to go get her. So Feyre and Amren then go to the cauldron, which for some reason has no guards.
Yep.
And Amren says she's sorry. And Feyre's like, huh? And it's like right as Feyre touches the cauldron, and then Amren takes a step back. But Amren takes a step back and then tosses the spell book away. And then now things get really weird. Feyre suddenly starts to see through the cauldron's eyes, and the cauldron like zaps her all around the entire battlefield. Like this.
Okay.
So she starts seeing all this different. She sees like Miriam and Dracon fighting Jurian. She sees Rhysand and Helion go into literal beast mode. Like they turn to actual fucking like crazy monster beasts, and they're fighting a never-ending horde of Hybern troops. And then finally she lands on Nesta and Cassian. And they're like there and they're ready. They're waiting for the King of Hybern to show up and they're going to stab him. And the King of Hybern appears, but he is holding their father as a human shield. Like literally holding their dad in front of him.
Yeah.
And Papa Archeron says to Nesta, like she's begging for his life. And he's like, I've loved you from the minute I held you as a baby. And then he apologized. He's like, I'm sorry for everything, for like not standing up before and like all this stuff. And then the king snaps his neck, just kills him dead.
Oh. Okay.
And while Nesta is begging for his life. And then they fight. Cassian, Nesta, and the king battle. It's pretty good. It's pretty cool. There's like a whole scene where she goes to like shoot a big power blast at him. And like he just like ducks.
Yep.
And she kills like thousands of dudes behind him. But it's a cool shot. Anyway, they're about to lose, and Nesta tries to shield Cassian with her own body. Like Cassian's like fucked up on the ground, like all beat up. And she like covers herself with his body, and the king's getting ready for the killing blow. And all of a sudden, he just stops. And Nesta looks over her shoulder, and he has a knife sticking out of his neck because Elaine walked up behind him and just stabbed him in the neck from the back.
Okay.
Yeah, using Truth Teller, Azrael's knife.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's in there. Stabbed him right in the fucking neck. And everyone's like, what the fuck? And it's wild. It's real wild. And Elaine just kind of like strolls off. And like he's like just kind of like bleeding out, and because he stabbed him through the throat.
Yeah.
And Nesta gets up and like kicks him on his knees, so he like falls to his knees, and then she just starts twisting the fucking knife until his head literally pops off.
Okay, honestly.
And then she's like holding his head, like like Nesta's like, because Nesta rules. But then they all realize, and even Feyre sees like through the cauldron, because remember Feyre's watching all this through the cauldron. She's like that even though the king is dead, the battle is so large that it's not gonna stop.
No.
Like there's too many independent parts working.
There's no way to tell everybody, hey, it's
There's
over.
no way. So that's when Amren yells at Feyre not to give in. She's like, you need to pull back. And then she prepares to jump into the cauldron.
Okay.
And she's like, look, what are you doing? She's like, no. And she like, Amren's like, I got to do this. And then Prince Varian appears.
Okay.
Because I don't know how. I don't know where this guy was. But he shows up and begs Amren not to do this. And she's like, no, I have to do this. And then she warns them. She's like, when you see my true form, like back up, I won't know who you are.
Okay. Yeah.
And then she looks at him. She's like, if I could have loved anyone, like it would have been you. Or like you taught me, you're the closest thing to teach me to love. Something weird like that. And then she jumps into the cauldron.
Yeah.
And then when she jumps in, Feyre is able to take her hand off. And then they run and like jump, and then the cauldron explodes.
Oh, okay.
Explodes. And out of it, Amren's true form appears. It's a giant light angel with like a big halo and like fire, and it's just like huge. It's massive.
Yeah.
And it just destroys all the bad guys.
Yeah.
All bad guys just turn into dust. And then she turns into dust. She like kind of turns into starlight, kind of like just dissipates.
Cute.
And then
the
everyone,
Bone Maker would have loved that. He loves stars.
yeah, and everyone's like kind of celebrating. They're like, we won. However, there's a problem. Feyre can feel it immediately.
Okay.
That should have been the end of the story right there.
Yeah, that should
have been, but there's so much more.
Feyre always has, or Feyre always has a
Feyre
problem.
feels the cauldron, and she realizes that even though it's been destroyed, that there is some sort of weird void. The beginning, the emptiness that is the beginning of the world exists inside the cauldron. Because the cauldron itself is like a metaphor for the Big Bang or something weird like that. And she's like, this void is growing and will destroy everything. And
It's a wormhole.
it's a wormhole.
Got it.
Rhysand explains to her, like, he's like, you need to reforge the cauldron. But she's like, I'm out of power. He's like, so use mine. And together they like hold hands and they reforge the cauldron.
Okay.
And it's like this whole thing and it's beautiful. And they're explaining it. And at the very end, Rhysand turns to me and goes, I love you. And then she opens her eyes and sees the cauldron reformed, and she turns around and Rysand is dead because it was the last of his power. And he's laying on the ground dead. Oh. The end of story.
Shut the
No,
fuck
it doesn't end there. Why would it end there? Because that would make sense and be good and beautiful. No, this is a book, and he needs to exist for more books.
Did they bring it back?
Of course they bring it back. Feyre does the exact thing they did in book 1. She screams at all the High Lords to do the trick.
Do the thing, guys.
She's like, do the thing from book 1. And they're like, hey, that only works on humans, we think. We don't know. We don't really know how anything works.
Let's try it,
And
though.
she's like, fuck it, do it again. And then they all do it.
Yeah.
And the last one to do, and they even teach her like how to make the little pea. It's like a little pea drop of light. And then Tamlin is the last one to drop his. No, he walks up and he tells her to be happy. And he drops his last little bit of power into her. And then Rysand comes back to life and he tells the High Lord, says, don't worry, I didn't steal any of your shit like she did.
Oh,
and he's like, yeah, he's real bitchy about it. And then he goes, hey, but look who I found while I was on the other side. And then Amren pops out of the cauldron. Except she doesn't have her god powers anymore. She's just a High Fae now.
Okay.
So, yep. Then we cut, and it's Feyre, Nesta, and Elaine are saying a prayer to their dead dad because they're burying him. And then they burn his body like he's Darth Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Got it.
And then Lucian shows up and he kind of tells them like, hey, just, here's like all the backstory of what your dad did. And then Elaine invites Lucian to the townhouse. You should come back with us. And they're like, oh, okay. So like, gross.
Elaine does gross. Got it.
And then Drakon and Mirian had made peace with Jurian because of Morrigan. And then Feyre asks Drakon and Mirian to hide the cauldron on Kratia because they're like, yeah, our island, like we've been on that island the whole time. We just put too good of a glamour on it, so nobody ever like checked.
Yeah.
So like we've been there the whole time. And then there is a massive High Lord meeting at the Feyre's estate, like their old estate, which is mostly burned down. And they have a crazy meeting.
Yeah.
And where they're like, we're gonna work out the new. This is gonna be the new peace treaty between humans and fairies. We need to have a new peace now that there's no wall. And as they're setting that thing up, the Firebird Queen sets up a future book with Feyre. She's like, you should help me with my curse. And nobody gives a shit. And she also tells her, your dad was great. There's like a lot of just like people just keep showing up being like, your dad was awesome, by the way. I know we haven't talked about him.
There's nothing worse. There's no worse feeling than having a bad parent that is nice to everybody else. And everybody's like, oh my God, they're the best. And you're like, you have no idea what I was dealing with.
But wait.
Yeah.
Then Feyre gets her good moment.
Okay.
Because
finally.
they introduce her to Nefeli, the lesbian cartographer with lopsided wings. She gets to me and she's like, you're my everything. I learned so much from you and your story. Ugh. Your story holds space with me.
You're holding space
so
for
I'm holding space.
Her little
your
Nemo
story
arm.
about defying gravity.
No. I knew this was a promo for Wicked.
Suck it. All right. Now, they have their little meeting. And then they go back to the townhouse. Everyone's settling in. We get an unnecessary chapter. Yeah. Completely unnecessary chapter of Rysand in the kitchen with his boys from his perspective, listening to everyone laugh in the other room. And the boys are like, nah, bro, it's real.
Okay, so that's just the bed jumping scene from Lord of the Rings.
Yes. It's just, no, it's, but like bro, it's real. You can rest now. Like that would be all. And then the story ends. Feyre meets Rysand on the roof of their row home. And she shows up and she's wearing sexy red lingerie and a sexy red little teddy.
On the roof?
On the roof. And she's like, oh. And they make a bargain there.
Okay.
That if one of them dies, that they won't be separated again. If that happens again, they'll die together.
Death pact.
Yeah, they basically make a death pact, and then both of them get a new tattoo from that immediately. Because this is tragic.
This getting tattoos for every
getting tattoos for your death pact is like very on the nose 20-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay, and they don't have laser machines there. Okay, and then finally, he mentions that they have to go. That Byraxis, the library monster, didn't come back. So like, well, that's a side quest. They just kind of like throw that out there, just like, hey, maybe people want to hear that. And then they take off to fly over Valeris. Except I keep remembering that she is in red lingerie.
She's in red lingerie.
Sarah J. Maas, I think, forgot by the end of the chapter. But I pictured them taking off and flying like.
So they were like Aladdin and Jasmine flying over the city to look around at the beauty, but she's in sexy red lingerie.
Yeah, just dripping cum on everyone.
Somebody's just like outside walking their dog in a late night. There's like, I just gotta take the dog out to pee one more time, and they look up and there's just
a whole new world.
And is that it?
But here's the thing: is you're picturing it that way, but I'm picturing it as they take off together that it's the end of the Matrix where they start playing that Rage Against the Machine song. Like that's what I'm picturing.
Yeah.
And yes, that is it.
Okay.
Shadow Daddy rockin' the world.
I needed to hit it one more time.
I get
and
that.
one more shout out to Griefcat. Holy fuck. Thank
Listen,
you.
I needed to say something. I am so impressed with your ability to read this book, explain it to me. I appreciate all of the effort you put into this.
A 4-hour journey.
That took months to make. And I gotta say, I'm not super impressed with this book. And I like the one sister.
Nesta.
I thought the Bone Carver's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? What do you think of this book?
I hated 80% of this book at a rate that I cannot actually put into words.
Yeah. That's how you get demonetized.
The parts of it that I liked, which were few and far between, I liked a lot. I understand why people like this book.
Yeah.
But there's also a sunk cost fallacy with this book that gets worse and worse, where it's like, the thing I'll give her, she did not George R.R. Martin us.
Yeah.
She pumps these things out, man.
Yeah. That's what she said.
Sarah J. Maas, she pumps them out because people want to hear. Now, with all that being said, Mrs. P.
Yeah.
I
think we should just like go downstairs and vibe out and clear our brains.
I think, yeah, and I think we should all prepare for another year.
No. Listen, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you so much. If you've made it all the way to the end of this, oh my God, thank you for listening to this episode. We hope you had a great holiday week. We hope that this episode hopefully made any type of transit you were doing and travel, or even just like sitting in your room doing a coloring book and not thinking. I'm so happy. Thank you so much.
And last thing,
Yeah.
we're going to say that I want you to put into the comments to prove that you made it this deep.
Mm-hmm.
I would just like you to all write Shadow Daddy.
Shadow Daddy rockin' the world.
Her world.
Shadow Daddy, y'all.
Shadow Daddy, y'all. And thank you so much for listening to another episode of Too Many Tabs. Like I said, we're taking this Sunday off. But happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. And we will see you soon. And we'll be back in the future with all of our Patreon shout outs.
Too many frauds and too many scammers that we wish weren't real. Too many cons and too many spammers, and we're starting to feel like we've got too many tabs open. It's too many tabs. Remember to smile.